My name is Bill Franke, and while I'm retired from the military, I retired with a rank of Lieutenant JG, and then a few years later I got notification I'd actually made lieutenant. I will tell you that on my first mission, there was an Army combatant that was overrun, and we had to go to his assistance. And we ended up in a very heavy battle, and a lot of lives were lost. And I came back from that mission out of that canal, and I resumed my patrol, and the next morning I was called in by another boat up the river from us, and he asked for me to get up there. And it was because there was a young Vietnamese girl that was pregnant and was giving birth, and the baby was breech. And they'd come to his boat for assistance, and I ended up being the guy that helped deliver the baby, and he was on the radio with the doc back at the medevac center. And I think that always has stuck with me because of the stark contrast of it, that between the 12-hour period, I've been engaged in a combat with someone a combat where I'm told that there were 60 men that were killed. And then within a matter of 12 hours, I'm giving birth to a little baby, and that was such a stark contrast. I think another experience was this experience I told you about the monsoon, where it ended up being almost a religious experience for me, where the heavy seas stopped, and quicker than instantaneous. I'll never forget that, and I'll never forget that first one. But there were so many others. You live on a knife's edge, and you have people that are severely wounded, and you don't know what happened to them. You've got a fellow that's waiting out there right now that I took my boat out to get it rehabbed when I switched from the 56 to the 93 boat. And when we went out there, we got hit by in an ambush. And I felt guilty because I had designated which boat crews were to come with me, and I picked these two boats. And here's this young ensign who had just arrived down there, and I designated for him to come with me, and he ends up getting chewed up. We lost 6 men that day to injuries, and we had to medevac him out on the Seawolf. But this particular man, I had come to his aid, and I thought he was going to lose. I thought he had lost his hand and his arm, and we medevaced him out. And for the last 40 years, I've been looking for him. I'm looking for him under the name of William Jennings, and I was told he was a dentist in Kansas. So I've been trying to find Bill Jennings in Kansas, and to no success. And he comes up to me at this reunion, and he's not called Bill Jennings. He's called William, I don't know what he calls himself, Howard Jennings, I think it is. But I only knew Bill Jennings, and so I didn't even recognize him. And I certainly didn't think it was him, because this man had both his arms. And as it turns out, he had his arm was literally dangling. Maybe 5% of it was still attached. And when I lifted him up into this helicopter, and I was certain he lost it, and this man comes up to me and says, "Are you Bill Franke?" And I said, "Yeah, I am." And I said, "And you were on the 56 boat?" "Yeah." And he says, "I'm Bill Jennings." I mean, it was, you could have knocked me over. I would disbelief. Things like that. When I went to our first reunion, we were leaving, and I had my 2 daughters with me, and this lady comes up to me, and she was about 22 years of age, And she says, "Are you Bill Franke?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And she says, she throws her arm around me. He starts crying, and she says, "If it weren't for you, I would have never known my daddy." Well, as it turns out, her dad had been the guy who, on my first mission, I'd gone in and we'd done the firefight, and we had broken that attack. And her mom was pregnant while he was in Vietnam. And she was born while he was in Vietnam. And it was her dad's opinion, but for our having come to his assistance, that he would have been killed, and hence she would never have met him. And so those sort of things are happening all the time.